Good afternoon and hope everyone is staying healthy and safe. I'm Jim Fogler, President of the Florida Press Association. Welcome and thank you for joining us for our Advertiser VIP Roundtable discussion. This VIP session is the last of our three-part series presented by FNAME. On behalf of the entire FPA, Intersect Media, and FNAME, say that 3 times, team. Let me say how excited we are to be able to provide our FPA members this insight from these two marketers who are making buying decisions for their clients or retailers. But before we begin, I have a few short announcements. First off, I'd like to recognize our sponsors. You saw that panel before we got started: Blue Toad, Preferred Marketing Solutions, and our very own Intersect Media. Please mark your calendars for our next VIP Roundtable discussion, which is being held on October 13th. This session will focus on best practices for our public notices. Small reminder that this session is being recorded, and if you have any questions, please feel free to use our chat feature, and Carolyn and/or I will get to as many as we can at the end of each panelist. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn Nolte, our Vice President of Intersect Media and FNAME. I got it right that time. She will be our moderator for our first panelist. Carolyn, take it away.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's had a good week so far. I'm excited today to have Kim Bryant, Media Director at the Moore Agency in Tallahassee, to join us today to help us gain a better understanding from the agency perspective of how they consider media tactics and put together a media plan. So thank you, Kim, for joining us. And just a little bit of background on Kim. I've known Kim for a very long time, and let's try it and see is Kim's favorite response to a lot of ideas. She's maintained this curiosity-driven mantra in a healthy combination with a well-thought-out approach in everything she's done, from developing strategies for brand campaigns all the way down to local media buys and sponsorships. Between her stints at agencies and in-house marketing departments, Kim has accumulated a broad range of experience across a host of industries, including retail, banking, finance, automotive, restaurant, hospitality, healthcare, and much more. Her breadth of experience with a touch of daredevil makes her a unique piece of the Moore Agency team. She's an effective strategy, and her main goal is to make sure the messages are delivered with accuracy to the best recipients of her target. She's responsible for understanding the audiences and where to find them. In addition to fun with media and numbers, Kim has a passion for helping brands connect with multicultural markets. She is adept at developing strategies and navigating the nuances that make her multicultural marketing uniquely challenging. Kim is originally from North Carolina and a proud graduate of Florida A&M University and a Bachelor of Science, Public Relations, and West Virginia University, where she got her Master's of Science in Integrated Marketing Communications. Passing along her curious nature, you can usually find her trying some type of craft, new recipe, or experiment or two with her daughters, and every now and then, she loves to escape for a long, winding ride on the Harley with her husband. So thank you, Kim, for joining us today. Like I said, everyone, Kim and I have known each other for almost 10 years and worked together in her previous stints at agencies and with Publix as one of their regional marketing managers up in Tallahassee. And I wanted Kim to join us because, like I said, I think she can help all of us understand the agency perspective. So I have a few questions that I'm going to ask Kim that I thought we could all benefit from. But Kim has agreed that you don't have to hold questions to the end. So she said, stop her, go ahead, and ask your questions. And of course, and at the end, if you have any other questions or comments, we'll take them at that time. So with that, welcome, Kim.
Thank you.
So, as the media director at the Moore Agency, you can tell us maybe just in a couple sentences what the Moore Agency focuses on in terms of good client fits for you.
Well, pretty much right now in my capacity at Moore as a director, I am working with pretty much any client that requires any offline, or as sometimes it's called, traditional media. I work really closely with our digital team out of Colorado, and kind of work together to develop the strategy. Sometimes I fly solo and just kind of call the team and say, hey, I put my budget aside for you for digital. But all in all, I am responsible for just making sure we have smart strategic media plans for our clients. And that ranges from, all types of industries, from Florida prepaid to career source, workforce development type clients, as well as travel as well. So runs the gamut.
Thank you. I wanted to see if you could take us through like a typical new media plan, even if it's a new client or maybe a new planning year or a new initiative. What is your process and the tools that you use in determining what tactics are ultimately chosen?
Right now, that's changing a lot, as you guys know. It's kind of, we're figuring it out as we go along. If you had asked me this around this time last year, I have one way. Back in March, when everything hit, it was a whole nother way. And right now, what we've been looking at, it's less long-term and further out, but more immediate, more what's happening right now. How are our targets and our customers and consumers, how are they adjusting? And so, it's a lot of whatever current research is available, digesting that as fast as possible, and then trying to get a plan out as fast as possible. So, once I get that research in and I kind of look at that quickly, or hanging out with the team and figuring out what's next, looking at, what are people doing, trends. And the trends right now aren't trends that are, 6 and 7 and 8 months long. They are like at best 6 weeks, 8 weeks, because, everybody's changing their habits and what they're doing in reaction to things. That's usually probably the main thing right now, is just, looking at what's going right now, and then determining who's available and who has the best fit and who has the best opportunities to allow us to still deliver integrated approaches. It's easy to kind of jump on and want to jump on digital and just ride it out because it's, easy. Everybody has their devices, but we still want to make sure we're reaching our target in as many ways as possible. And so then it's just kind of looking to see what makes the most sense for the market.
Do you partner with other media outlets? I mean, and that it's kind of like we partner together, intersect and more on some certain things. But do you look for partnerships like that to make your selection and, planning all the way down to execution a little bit easier?
Definitely. Especially right now with the quick turnarounds and having to be responsive before the next thing changes, or not knowing how long what we know is going to be what we know. So I look to partners to see what's new, what's relevant, what has changed for you, what packages are available, so that way we can package it together as succinctly and efficiently as possible to make the most and best use out of those dollars that we have.
When you look at partnering with, other either agencies or media, just local media partners, what are you really looking for in a partnership? Is it, all about rate? Is it all about relationship? Is it about their ability to plan and execute? All of the above, or what are you looking for?
All of the above. While some things haven't changed, and that is the importance of those relationships and efficiencies. Probably more so now than before, efficiencies, because companies want to make sure they're using their dollars the best that they can. And So it's the rates, it's the relationships. It's honestly also what else do you have available? What other opportunities? What ways are you using what you have previously packaged and repackaged it, repurposed it, redressed it up, put a new bow on it? How have you redone that so that way it fits within what's going on, but it's still relevant? So I don't want you to package it up and it's just, well, we just, slapped a new name on it. We just put COVID before it and it makes it relevant. No, it still needs to resonate. It needs to make sense. And so just seeing how you've been able to adjust whatever we might have previously been able to work with to today's current environment.
Probably a question that a lot of us don't ask, but we should ask is, what are you not wanting to see from a potential partner? What's like your off button, like, no, not again, or if you would have just handled that differently or approached me different? What are those no buttons?
Probably more so than anything, having bucket or cookie cutter solutions where it's like, no matter what client it is I'm talking about or what's going on, it's the same package. Well, this is the same presentation or same opportunity presented 6 months ago. So how is it effective, and is it going to change, or what's changing about it as far as what's going on currently? Because that's what's on the top of mind for my clients, for most of my clients, no matter what industry they're in, whether it's travel or whether it's workforce. They have different things that they're focusing on, but unfortunately, COVID is at the top of everybody's list. So just kind of repackaging, or not repackaging, but just kind of regurgitating at this point, the same old, or trying to, well, I love to see digital and I like to see the opportunities. It doesn't fit for everything, and it's not an answer for everything. So trying to throw that on top of everything when I'm asking for something specific. If it's an opportunity, sure. But if it's not something that I've asked for, and I try to be pretty communicative about timelines or time constraints, with what's going on, we have quick turnarounds because everybody wants to solve whatever issue they're having right now. And so having to sift through extra stuff or, respond several times to no, I can't do that right now, or no, let's look at it later, makes it a little bit more difficult because in other cases, I might love to look at it, but now is not the time. So just understanding timing and making sure that you're presenting the solutions that are going to help me look good, but also do the best I can. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Everyone on this call today is in Florida. They all of us represent either a property in Florida, a local news property that offers both online and offline media, as well as our association, Intersect Media, and then FNAME. Collectively, as a group, what can we do as local news media properties throughout the state to provide you in terms of capabilities to be in that consideration set as you're planning? What can we do to keep our state local media properties top of mind for you?
Oh, yeah. Probably making sure any trends, any new information that you have going on, we know, like I said, nothing's the same as it was this time last year. So any of that information that we can use internally, that we can pass along to the client as support for why we, don't recommend or do recommend certain things is helpful. So any research and support is definitely helpful, or in support of anything that you're trying to offer, because if you can provide that to me, that saves me a step. Also, again, just looking at innovative ways to use different positions or opportunities that you have. It might be something that you've had for years, but this is, a new way, a new spin on it for these times. Making sure that that's still at the forefront, because that's at the forefront with what we're having to deal with. So innovation, even if it's, like I said, is existing, it can be something you've had for 10 years, or it can be something brand spanking new. But just having that innovation at some level there. Those two are probably the main areas at this point in time.
And then to everybody on the call, like Kim said, you have trends or new things, make sure to get them to us at Intersect Media. So that way, when we're in touch with Kim and brainstorming, which Kim and I like to do a lot of crazy ideas, those are top of mind that we're able to, put in that consideration set on behalf of your local properties.
Yeah.
So I think we have time for one more question, and this one's kind of important. So we've started with like your consideration of media tactics, or evaluation to reach your targets. But how do you measure specifically offline media? How do you measure its effectiveness? If it reaches your goals?
It's a little tougher, but performance metrics still can kind of come into play if we're able to do any tracking through a custom or unique URLs. Any opportunity where we're able to track, whether it's through that coupon in some cases, or just anything where we can definitively show that connection from point A to point B. But these days, with a lot of the print, of course, and offline, it is with those custom URLs or custom numbers where we can directly attribute it back. If there's a way that you guys have that can help us with that, that's awesome. That allows us to create that direct attribution is perfect. Because I'm going to battle up against the digital team who has all of these opportunities to show how this click and this click went to this. Well, I can argue all day long that, well, my ad is what led to them going to, or seeing your ad to click on it, or, just anything like that. So typically performance metrics still come into play. However, we can figure that out, whether it is, like I said, through unique URLs or some other way where it's a custom phone number or a custom call to action that we can make sure that we can make it directly attributable.
Very good. Thank you. I'm going to take some questions now from all of our attendees. Does anyone want to ask a question of Kim? No, quiet. I'll ask one. I mean, you have quite the extensive background of, different agencies and on the client side. Of all the campaigns that you've worked on or developed, in your career, what's been your favorite and why?
That's a tough one. There's been quite a few. I'll start with probably one of the most recent, and that has been since I've been with Moore, and that is the Help Is Here campaign that we've done with CareerSource. We developed it for the CareerSource corporate, and then we also custom tailored it for each of the 24 boards that wanted to participate throughout the state. We had our plans for the year, had everything kind of mapped out, and then March flipped everything on its head, and we quickly pretty much redid all the agreements, all the scopes of work, new creative and everything to develop this campaign that was seeking to help Floridians that, needed to find some jobs, find money, find whatever it was to help sustain them. And it was super important because, this is livelihoods that we're talking about here. And so being able to work on that campaign where we pretty much we turned on a dime and churned out this campaign to let the markets know and the state know that help is here available at our CareerSource career centers, was not only satisfying as professionally, but also a little heartwarming because people were struggling and are struggling, and it allowed us to kind of help create a helpline, a lifeline for some people. And it was so successful that we're shifting into the second phase, which now is into this recovery stage. And as businesses are opening back up, morphing that same campaign, that same messaging and thought process of the help being available here with us to how can we help you now that we're at this stage, opening back up, getting you back out into positions and jobs that, people might have lost as businesses closed down. So that's probably the most recent. And then of course, there was a slew, of course, at Publix from Mardi Gras to the Black History Month campaigns, which were dear to my heart. So but the Help Is Here has really just kind of pulled at my heartstrings because there's so many people that need it right now.
Well, thank you very much. You
No.
work on a lot of fun stuff. Does anyone have a question for Kim or want
Carolyn.
additional information?
Hey, Carolyn, I'm going to jump in the pool. I'll probably ask Bill a similar question, but Kim, you're speaking to, publishers, ad directors, sales reps, and, we, at times we run into a brick wall as we're trying to, get an inroad for an appointment, right? And I was wondering if you can give us any insights into what are you looking for to get us in that door, to help us, because and we understand we have to reach out a few different times, right? And we get that whole 7 touch points. But do you have any insights for us to share on kind of and you mentioned innovation, and I get that too. But any other things you could share with us to help us, or different ways to penetrate through that thick wall that some of us have to go through?
Absolutely. It seems like the most basic, but being mindful of the time. A lot of people are still working from home. And so it's easier, honestly, it's not as personable, but it's easier to just be able to hop on an email and respond that way. If there's an opportunity, send the information up front. I know it's easier to, try to hold it back so that you can get that call. But a lot of times I'm looking at stuff, especially with these shifting schedules with everything that's going on. I might look at something at midnight, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning after the kids are to bed. And so that's not prime time to talk, but that's a great time for me to sift through my email, pop open proposals, update rep lists, and things like that, just to kind of get an idea of what's going on. So even if it's not the full proposal, if it's a 1-sheet or a 1 slide, that kind of top line pops out some things that I can quickly say, oh, okay, this is great. That's helpful. Being mindful that stuff is slowing down in some cases, while some clients were flipping on a dime. And so that time is not really there to do a whole bunch of back and forth. In some cases, some have slowed down as we try to, as they try to figure out what's going on. So it might be 4 or 5 weeks before I actually have an answer for you on, a question. And it's, it's frustrating, I understand, but it's, it is a little for us too, because we like to get hopping, but we also want to make sure we're doing the smart thing and listening to the client while they're trying to figure out what's going on with their business. So that patience there, that a little bit longer lead time, sharing that any insights or information even after the first touch point. So you sent me that 1-sheeter, touching base a couple weeks later, not to ask what I have coming up that might be something that they could jump on, but here's some trend information that could be helpful. And so that might be something I could take into the next meeting and say, okay, I know we're waiting on this decision from you, but here's what's happening in the market. So, not so much of the hard sell, but more, offering of quick offerings, quick glance offerings, and then support type information.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, as a piggyback to that, and thank you so much, Kim. One of the things you hit the nail on the head on was the fact that in a lot of cases, offline media drives online media, right? And so when we look at that, a lot of the folks on the call today we tend to put media plans together that work together that way, right? And we are working both sides of the equation. So what kind of insights or best practices or advice could you give the group on, as we're kind of looking at both sides of the house and trying to work with someone like yourself and, your partners? What are some best practices to get all the right people or maybe everyone in the same conversation and hearing and understanding the same ideas, if you will, or recommendations, if you will?
For me, in a lot of cases, if I'm asking for something specific, having that and making it still separate. So while you want to package it together, that's great, but I still need to be able to see it in certain pieces, because in my case, for some clients, I'm going to run that digital piece by the digital team because that's their wheelhouse. While I might be able to make that decision or feel comfortable, doing the research and understanding all the analytics and, all the, costs and everything related to that I'm not going to step across that line unless I'm being asked. And so being able to have that broken out, it's great if you want to add it on, but make it so that I can look at what I need to look at, and then I can maybe forward that piece on over to the team. For me, I try to still act as the primary contact, so it doesn't get murky and there's not, oh, well, I sent this piece over and I sent that piece over. So to this person. So sending, if you're sending anything and you want it to be considered, even if it's in one or as part of one whole package, still have it so it's broken up. So I can take that portion and give it to who needs to see it. So that way it's not us trying to say, well, I think this kind of goes with this, or this is the full total, but kind of more like a menu type when it's being presented. It makes it a little bit easier when you do have teams that include multiple eyes.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim. A lot of good insights that I'm sure a lot of us will take back with us. Thank you for your time. And Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Carolyn and Kim. And now it is my pleasure to introduce a friend and one of the most strategic and data-driven marketers in retail I've ever worked with, Bill Furkavik. Presently a marketing consultant, Bill spent the last 14 years with Party City, the largest party retailer in the nation, as their VP of marketing. And prior to that, 17 years with Pep Boys. And he too has experienced a lot of change in the media world. So both retail organizations afforded Bill extensive branding, digital and traditional marketing experience, strategic planning, CRM, agency management, licensing, sponsorship, public and media relations, and creative production. While Bill was at Party City, he also championed the renewal of the brand's positioning and architecture, including an agency review and launch of a new campaign, all based upon consumer insights and data derived from research and understanding of key company differentiators with a focus on an evolving competitive technology, consumer, and retail landscape. Bill and his wife, Denise, are proud parents of 5. They reside at their horse farm in northwestern New Jersey. I found out just south of the Poconos, not in the Poconos. Bill, welcome and thank you in advance for fielding our questions.
Yeah, glad to be here. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. So, Bill, since I know that Halloween is your Christmas, how has the pandemic affected the way you or they will market Party City at this time?
Yeah, the pandemic has been a conundrum for everybody, including Party City. What could be a more bigger obstacle for social gathering for a party company? But Party City has really done a phenomenal job pivoting to serve customers. People are still celebrating. They're still celebrating and enjoying those birthdays, the anniversaries, the graduations that occurred this past summer, all still taking place, but all doing it very differently. The most important thing for Party City and Halloween is research and insight. And the company did a lot of research and found out that 96% of parents are still planning on celebrating Halloween. So Halloween is still on, they're still planning on engaging, they're just gonna be doing it differently. So of those 96% of the parents, 70% said they're gonna find alternatives to trick-or-treating. So they're still going to don costumes, they're still going to find ways to celebrate. they're just going to be doing it differently. They're looking at things like ghosting, spooky baskets where you build elaborate baskets and deliver them to driveways, doing more of the parades. You saw a lot of birthday parades when COVID, kind of with the onset of COVID. Over the course of the summer, graduation parades, car parades still going to take place for Halloween. So look forward to a lot of those types of activities. Trunk or treating events, again, another way for folks to engage and celebrate. We also anticipate home decor, decorating for Halloween, to be up about 4% this year over last year. So the folks are going to engage, but just do it a little bit differently. For Party City's sake, you know, when COVID hit, the brand was already working on the ability for home delivery, especially balloon delivery. That was underway. But with the closure of the retail, the brick and mortar stores, the company worked, I think it took 8 to 9 days to figure out how to provide curbside delivery service. So as soon as we were able to kind of reopen, we got curbside delivery open, and it's been really well received by Party City's customers. So there's been a continued demand for online transactions and online service. We saw it last year with Halloween costumes specifically, with the big shift to online. So with the ability for customers to go to partycity.com to select their costumes, their accessories, their decor, and just click that pick up curbside or have it delivered, same day delivery is available. Those advances with technology through the web have really been important and will be important as that company you know, fights for its Halloween dollars this October.
Gotcha. I knew you were going to say trunk or treat. I've already seen some ads on that. It's very very cool. You know, in similar fashion, Carolyn asked Kim a question that I'm going to throw back at you. And what does it take to win your business? And is it all about the rate?
It's really not about the CPM at all, quite honestly. And especially now, quite frankly, the insights about what's going on in the marketplace, and Kim mentioned this, is what kind of trends do you see that can help educate your customers? So when Party City is looking at what's going on for Halloween, we work with social influencers. The influencer team goes out and actually asks the customers in the marketplace, what are you anticipating? Are you going to do birthdays over again? Are you going to do do-over parties? You know, just are you going to spend more time out in the backyard? Your people are rediscovering their backyards. All of that, the little bit of insight and information gives us marketers the option to the ability to kind of think through what's going on in the minds of our customers to figure out how to provide relevant services and goods that are going to resonate with them so they'll still purchase. So over the course of the summer, Party City really engaged in things called Adventure in a Box, where you could just buy activity kits, the baking kits. You could have outdoor movie viewing parties, outdoor celebrations, backyard events, and things like summer camps were canceled. So there were summer camp in a box kits created. Just little bits of insight like that are tremendously helpful to organizations, even a company the size of Party City. And then as a media partner, if you can figure out how to help deliver the solution and the relevancy to the customer, that's really a big open door and a huge opportunity. It's more about finding those insights and those opportunities, I think, that'll help companies you know, differentiate and leverage their capabilities and in turn broaden their appeal to the customers, especially their core customer.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. But based on Party City's desired audience, obviously you mentioned moms with kids. What are the media vehicles, Bill, that you guys are using today? And then which one of those are delivering the best ROI for you?
Yeah, so Kim mentioned this. So when you know, the digital folks and the digital media is very measurable. So you kind of end up, when you're looking at the funnel, you got to kind of start, I think, at the bottom of the funnel where you're looking at the hand raisers. So search is a huge component. You're really wanting to get the traffic to the site, and especially interested traffic, people that are deliberately looking for something or looking to buy. So search is vital to drive that traffic. of interested consumers. And then you're going to want to constantly optimize for conversion because these are people that have intent to buy. On top of that, then you go to remarketing. So retargeting is an incredibly important tactic. So if I didn't buy the first time I visited, we want to keep remarketing to you to get that conversion. So you're slowly going from the bottom of the funnel up. At the same time, you still need to fill that funnel. So that's where the traditional or the offline media plays a very important role. So I think when you're looking at media and you're looking at your mix overall, you have to understand, Kim kind of mentioned this, but there's as an a la carte option, but you got to kind of figure out, why am I buying this particular media? What am I trying to accomplish with it? And where in the funnel is it? And it will serve its own unique purpose. So if it's an acquisition tool or an awareness tool, it's going to be upper funnel. Then you got to figure out what those upper funnel metrics are that you're going to want to measure against. And they're certainly measurable. Even the offline media is measurable. And the best way to do that is test and control if you can, or pre and post studies. So you can look at either traffic. She mentioned some of the tactics relative to a unique phone number, a unique URL, even couponing, et cetera. But you are able to kind of understand via pre and post what that upper funnel media did for you in terms of traffic or awareness. If you can afford it, by all means, do more research to see if the customer's level of awareness or interest in the product that your potential clients are advertising has changed in their minds.
Bill, let's stay with that real quick, because you mentioned traditional, and you have a lot of, I say newspaper folks on the call, but we're more than newspapers today, because we are a media company and we're leveraging digital like no tomorrow. But what are you looking for from a newspaper partner?
Yeah, I think I would look at, if you spoke to yourselves as a network, because you do have digital components,
yeah,
as well as the ink and the paper piece. When you understand your network, your reach, I think going back to the comment I made earlier and Kim referenced, nobody probably knows your customers, your readers better than you do. So if you're trying to align with a potential advertiser, really get into their business and understand who their core customer is, and figure out how you reach that customer and how relevant your network is with that consumer. And then perhaps shop them and figure out what their interests are. You're gonna have to do a lot of kind of homework and your own little consumer research initiatives to kind of get under the hood and see what's in their minds, the customers I'm talking about, and understand how well you resonate with that customer group. And you might be able even to get metrics in terms of how you over-index to that core group versus some other media competitors. And then you've got to put on that thinking cap and start doing some brainstorming to figure out how your ability to reach that target can be leveraged in a very creative way with your customer's product or service. I think if you were able to do that and come up with very clever, creative approaches for reaching people and providing some really good insight, that goes much farther than anybody, I think, can even realize how important that is, yeah. Especially now when the world is not predictable in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, true that. So, Bill, I just rattled off 4 questions, but I would love to open it up at this time for anyone else on the call that would have a question for Bill.
Yeah, Bill, this is James in Daytona. You talked specifically about us understanding who your customers are. How many of the media folks you work with truly understand that and present strategies and approaches that apply to those consumers?
Yeah, so it's going to depend on the platform. So I'll give you, there is a major platform out there, a digital social media platform that a large global company that specifically went in and did their own research. They're very data driven. They've got tons of data to understand. Once they understood who our core customer was, they kind of figured it out. It's not tough. And then they were able to surface browsing data, behavioral data, insights that just open the door to one, the conversation, the ability for them to come in and earn our business in a very significant way. So that's one example. Google clearly has lots of insight and analysis and understanding of the customers that they're able to surface and percolate more than anybody on our staff at Party City staff at the time was able to kind of dive into the data and get under the hood and the weeds and look at some insights to fleece them that may or may not be of import to the brand. It's very helpful when we find media partners doing that. We'll find that also comes from the likes of even national networks like Viacom or Nickelodeon is another example, where they go out and they field their own research and they do their own studies that really absolutely help provide insights that we might not have otherwise discovered on our own.
Patrick.
Yeah, hey Bill, thanks again for being here. Kind of as a follow-up to James' question, I think again, dead on with understanding your target audience, right? And maybe how we index to that audience. But I think the other thing too is understanding your business objectives and your story, right? What your education to that target audience is. So my question is, how open are you to, especially like per se with like a Party City, if we take your story and we show you how we get it in front of your target audience, how open are you to new ideas with creative messaging and changing up the creative? Is that something that's kind of taboo, or are you open to those ideas from people like us?
Generally, creative is probably that's a brick wall. You're going to hit a brick wall. And I'm being very honest. And the reason for that is there's so much time and energy that goes into briefing and developing a strategy and understanding the kind of holistic approach that goes into creative, and very specific creative can be developed for anything. Even I mentioned curbside pickup, same day delivery has its own separate brand brief and brand strategy and guidelines that goes into the creation of that messaging that a company the size of Party City is going to be working with an agency partner on. But a smaller business might very well need that creative insight and support. But I would tell you a larger big box retailer, national chain, you'll probably, that probably won't be helpful. But for a smaller business, I operate a small horse farm, someone coming with some creative ideas and input, that would actually be refreshing. I know a lot of small business owners that don't have the wherewithal to pay an ad agency or somebody. So you might actually just be better off just to ask the customer up front if they'd be receptive or not. But making an assumption that a larger client would want creative would probably not be the best path to pursue.
Appreciate the honesty. Thank you. Thank you.
But, on that note though, Bill, I mean, you've created some amazing partnerships with Nickelodeon and you've integrated Party City into some of their, into some of their programming. And I know that was by design by you. And you guys have a great story to tell. Yet we have all these media vehicles to be able to tell that story. If we don't have to create that story. The agency could create that story. Is that something that the agency would look, and maybe this is a question for Kim, would the agency view us as a place to make that buy or to help tell that story?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So Pinterest is a good example where the company creates its ad campaign, its branding, it's got its positioning. That information is then briefed to the media partner. So by all means, Kim can confirm, but basically for a larger enterprise, when you've got a campaign that's developed, the media partner should be briefed on the creative so they can take it and leverage it and maybe even, it should be malleable enough to transform into a solution that you might have that would be totally unique. So you're not starting from scratch, you're leveraging something that's already kind of built.
Gotcha. Bill, you mentioned Pinterest. Let's talk a little bit about social, leveraging social media as far as your social media efforts with Party City? Any insights you can share? Anything positive? Is that just a branding play, or actually you getting results from the investment you're making in the social world?
Yeah, so it's a great reach vehicle, paid social. I'm not talking about organic social in any way, shape, or form. So it's a great place for paid media for reach. It does do a great job providing traffic. And again, you got to be when we're looking at our media mix overall, different tactics, different media elements play a different role in that mix. Some of them are for driving traffic, some of them are just for converting. So if you want paid Facebook or Instagram, retargeting is super for conversion, not for traffic. Pinterest is great for traffic, but not for conversion. So they're all used very deliberately and upfront. So as you're working with a client, it would be awesome for you to say, here's where we fit in your media mix, and this is where we're really going to focus on. Here's our measure of success. So here we know what the success metrics are. But you can't be all things to all people, given the state of what you're trying to accomplish or what the campaign entails. But if you're very deliberate and very specific to know where you are in that whole journey as you're mapping out the customer journey and where you fit in that decision-making process, so it's really clear to your client that I'm here, I'm for upper funnel, I'm for awareness building and driving some traffic. You don't expect, conversion on my ads, or maybe you do. It just depends. But I think the more upfront and honest you are about how you fit in that mix overall, the better off everyone's going to be.
Gotcha.
So back to social. Again, different platforms are used for different purposes and different spending. Even within one platform like Facebook, for example, a certain amount of the spend could be allocated for awareness, some for traffic, and some for conversion. And then you're constantly moving money around to optimize.
Gotcha. Any other questions for Bill or for Kim? Because Kim, I think, is still on the line. Hey, Bill, I'm going to ask the question I asked Kim, and that is, all of us publishers, ad directors, there's at times a brick wall, right? Can you give us any insights on how to penetrate that wall, or what do you look for when someone is reaching out that strikes that chord, saying, you know what, I got to get back to Fogler on that. Could you help us on just trying to, like I said, break through that wall at times could be so frustrating for a lot of us.
Yeah, I think if you could demonstrate some keen insights that you've found about the customer and your ability to leverage the reach that you have for that target is really a tremendous key and a big unlock. It requires a lot of work because you've got to, again, invest time in the client's business, figure out their marketplace, who their core customer is, talk to those customers, understand where they're going, do a little bit of journey mapping if you can, do a little bit of research, figure out how you might be able to develop a media campaign that would appeal to that demo, and especially just unlock a little bit of that insight, like I mentioned earlier in our conversation about those. I'm going to spend more time in my backyard. My kid's not going to summer camp. I got to figure out how to do it at home. I need boredom busters. I need to figure out how to have a car parade Halloween. All of those little insights, and you come up with an idea. Man, a company, you're going to provide tremendous value add in that way to open the door and get someone's attention.
Okay. All right. Yes. Kim,
No, I was going to tag on and say definitely content that we can tag on to that's relevant to a client is amazing, especially when we're looking for ways to tie in and not beat a dead horse, as so to speak, with the same digital display.
All right, question for both of you guys. Email, text, how do you like to be communicated with?
Email.
From a sales perspective, email, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to ask. All right. Anybody else? Feel like I'm hogging up.
Bill, you hesitated. Why? Is it really email?
uh, you know, I was, if you have, it's definitely not text, and definitely not mail, because it just doesn't get the traditional U.S. Postal Service mail. I think the interesting thing with the emails, you've got to have a great headline. And you've got, if you have that insight, even just an infographic or something like that, that was like, wow, this person really spent some time and understood our customer, and this is something I didn't know, that's really going to catch my attention. That works really well.
All right, good to know. So subject line, very important.
Yes.
Well, it goes back to email marketing, right? A/B test a lot of subject lines. So. All right. Anybody else?
I must also tell you one thing that does work, and it pardon my French, I'll use the word, it ticks me off. But if you reach out to the president of the company, they always forward it to the VP level, to someone like me,
Yeah.
And then you're compelled to respond. So it's not appreciated.
So you're saying we go on the bottom of the list when you reach out to the friends?
Yeah, in all honesty, every time I've received an email that was sent to the CEO or the president and they forward it to me to follow up on, I do. So it kind of, it's irritating, to be brutally honest, but it's a way to get someone to at least potentially open your email or realize that you're out there in the marketplace. So on the client side, there's a little bit of an insight there, I guess.
All right, so percentage on conversion on that though. So what's the percentage on conversion if one of us went to the CEO and it reached you or Kim?
Well, I think if you know, they or their admin are looking at it. And if you have that insight that I know something about your customers that you might not know, they're going to want to know. And quite frankly, so do I as a marketer. So
all right,
if you've got that insight, dangle that carrot. That's
all right. Fair enough.
It's kind of the same way, except for from my perspective, it's getting an email from the client when I already have the relationship with the person, and it's like, so gotcha. Send it over. I mean, I'm gonna look at it like Bill said, if it's an infographic or something, quickly I can look at it. Like I said, that one pager that I can just pop open and say, you know, high points, here's what we have available, here's what's going on. Woo, all right. Then that's going to go over and it's going to get seen. I might not, you know, I try to respond to everything, but I've seen it. I'm probably going to make a note of it and make sure it's at least top of mind, and it will pop up as I'm trying to share that information with clients.
Kim, I got to believe we've all done this, right? I mean, we're reaching out to the agency, and then finally we just said uncle, and then we do go to the client, and I get it. And it's like one of those last resort things, but you're saying when it comes back to you from the client, it's just, it's going to tick you off as well.
Yeah. And sometimes because they're like, don't you already talk to this person? I'm like, oh yeah. No worries. I got it.
All right. I appreciate you guys being candid.
I only have one other, I mentioned it too earlier, Jim, is just, you guys have networks. You know, not to, if someone said you want to buy a newspaper ad, I'm gonna, I don't know about newspaper, but in reality, you have a full omni-channel solution.
Yes.
More than likely all of you do. I would refer to your enterprise as a network. That would probably help too.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Great tip. All right, gang, it's 5 of going once. Any other questions for Bill or Kim? Going twice. All right, going 3 times. Special thank you again to Kim and Bill for all your insights. So helpful to all of us. Thank you, guys. Thank you again for our presenting sponsor, FNAME, and to all of our sponsors, Blue Toad, Preferred Marketing Solutions, and Intersect Media. Hope you guys found value in the session, and we always look forward to hearing feedback from our members. So please send any suggestions for future VIP roundtables our way. We look forward to seeing you again on October 13th for our next VIP roundtable discussion on best practices for public notices. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great rest of the day, everybody.